When we first met Principal Parke Land, he just set out to rebuild a struggling school in Richmond, Virginia.
Hey, do y'all need some help? I truly believe, I take this serious, I truly believe that if we don't solve the problems of inner city schools, our democracy is going to suffer.
Ready? I better be.
Everything Land knows about education, he learned as a principal in high-performing suburban schools. His new school, Boushall Middle School, is different.
Let's turn to page 2.
Last year, its reading scores were among the lowest in the state.
He's walking into a school that, for one thing, is not fully accredited.
English teacher Madieth Malone has taught at Boushall for 20 years.
He's walking into a school that is predominantly black. He's walking into a situation that, unfortunately, is surrounded by very low income.
I didn't know you did that.
He's walking into, I guess you would say, a typical inner city school.
Principal Parke Land is at the front of one of the newest, hottest ideas in education. He's part of a rapid response team of veteran principals, assembled, trained, and then sent by the state of Virginia to take over schools stuck at the bottom. Virginia calls these principals turnaround specialists.
It's not a huge mystery as to how to turn schools around.
Keep at it.
It's leadership, establishing a basic understanding of respect among all parties, and that includes students. And somebody had to do it. I mean, it's really, I don't want to say, one of the things I really don't want to sound like is a missionary. I do not want to sound like a missionary, but I have a mission.
But only a few weeks into the school year, it appeared that Land's mission had gone awry.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute!
I can't stand failure. And it feels like failure is what it feels like. But I realized we didn't get this way overnight.
Boushall opened exactly 20 years ago. Back then, things were different.
Everybody wanted to enroll their child at the new school. We had very high-performing kids, those who were performing high academically. Even though the classes were large, the kids were on task.
But as the surrounding neighborhood declined, so did Boushall.
The biggest problem I have in my classes is the students do not know how to respect an adult.
You're not respecting me. You know the right thing to do.
At the start of this school year, teachers struggled for control.
I have had enough. Okay.
On this day, Lois Smith tried to teach math to a group of 7th graders.
Excuse me. You're talking on my time.
Right now, these children don't have respect for themselves, so they're not going to have respect for me, and they're not going to have respect for their other classmates.
Excuse me. 30 seconds, young lady.
In this 90-minute period, only about 15 minutes of actual instruction took place.
You know this is not what I expect in my classroom.
It's going to take the next 2 or 3 weeks for them to really understand how my class, we operate.
If you leave, you will be written up.
They're not going to run me out of the classroom.
You said 30 seconds.
Here we go.
We've got to teach you how to do better in those situations.
Land was aware of the problems and thought he knew the cause.
So much of misbehavior is a result of teachers just being poorly planned.
Do you really believe that? Bad behavior is a consequence of bad teaching? What are you saying?
You can preclude a lot of student misbehavior with a good lesson plan.
I have a lesson plan, but some of their behavior is beyond my control. Until we get their behaviors straightened out in the classroom, no teaching can be done.
Excuse me, please come on up front if you can.
But Land still saw better instruction as the right remedy.
Okay.
He put that idea into effect at a staff meeting at the beginning of the year, starting with new roles for his 2 assistant principals.
A critical change, a very significant change. All discipline now will go to Jean and Janet. I have got to be about instruction and curriculum and I have got to be about in the classroom, assisting teachers with improving their skills. To do that, there is no way that I can be a disciplinarian as well.
Do you have any doubts about whether you're doing the right thing here?
None, no doubt. If you're going to raise the building, you have to push on those teachers who are dragging their feet.
Good morning. Good morning. By the first week of October, some students were learning.
You're telling me that's 2%? Oh, that's 20%. Thank you. You're scaring me.
Many others, it seemed, were not. Discipline reports filed by teachers describe students who throw books and do nothing but disrupt and sleep. One student laid on the floor and talked for the first 5 minutes of class. I cannot control her, this teacher wrote.
I don't remember having as many problems as I've had this year.
Steven!
Man, she was chasing me down the hall.
Janet Young-Trent, an assistant principal now in charge of discipline at Boushall, quickly had her hands full.
He's disrespecting not only me, he's disrespected 3 teachers already. Let's just take today, for instance. I would say that I met with 6 students. Okay, you ran from me twice, was caught by security, being disrespectful and defiant. You were really having a tough day that day, weren't you?
How many times do I have to say it?
You don't have to use that tone with me.
I can.
Excuse me, no,
Sure.
sir. You just talking
It's
about
my
how other
move.
people. No, don't.
Jean Shiflett is another assistant principal.
Oh, yeah. Bunch of liars?
Don't play those games with me.
Man, whatever.
I'm not a man. My name is Mrs. Shiflett.
Man, whatever.
No, I'm not a man. And you
You
definitely.
look like one.
Excuse me.
You know you.
Now you're being
I
insulted.
don't care, man.
To the ISS. You need
ISS.
someone to pick him up.
Steve, come on, baby. Let's
Excuse me,
walk.
try to get some.
The toughest time of the day was right after lunch. That's when Rodney Butler, a parent, came by for a visit.
I'm walking by some classes, I'm hearing a lot of screaming, and everybody's jumping up.
Everybody sit down!
Butler waited to speak to his son's teacher.
I think the teachers were trying their best to do their jobs. Kids were like taking over. They gotta make it easier for some of these teachers. You know, I'm quite sure that many teachers around here that keep a bottle of aspirins in their desk.
You have performed awful this afternoon.
6 weeks into the school year, things hadn't gone quite the way Lois Smith had expected.
I mean, I could say that, oh, everything's wonderful, but I don't feel wonderful.
Land offered guidance to Smith and others, confident that his approach would solve their discipline problems.
I see the bigger picture. I'm working on a discipline. You cannot separate classroom management, behavior management, and good instruction.
To me, that is the utopia type situation you want to have, but come on, we need some reality here.
Then Boushall went from bad to worse.
Close this door. We had fights breaking out a lot. We had 3 fights within 15 minutes.
You're going to get your money. Hold it. I'm going to get your money for you. Sit down.
One I had to actually break up myself. Yeah, with a security guard. This was on the floor trying to get kids apart, and it was pretty ugly. That string of fights was more than just a bump in the road. We all kind of understood that something really has to change. It's critical that we put this all out at once.
Reluctantly, Land dropped the strategy he'd announced to teachers at the beginning of the school year, that good instruction was the solution to bad behavior. Now he had a new plan.
Solid rules, solid consequences, solid rewards. That's a program.
To some, it was about time.
I'm not sure if he really knew what he was getting into. I don't know if he realized what the inner city student was like.
I have lots of experience with kids who have real tough environments and abusive environments. And those emotional issues and those kind of needs that prevent them from learning. But it's the sheer number that's here. That was something I wasn't prepared for.
You folks are in charge of their behavior.
Forced to confront misbehavior head-on, Land asked his staff to get behind new, tougher penalties for student misconduct, including 90 minutes of after-school detention.
In fact, I need a commitment to do the after-school detention program. What do y'all think? I need to know. What's the commitment?
They felt fine, as long as they could get paid.
Boushall teachers like Thaddeus Smith earn, on average, $11,000 a year less than teachers in the suburbs.
We have a lot of teachers that have other responsibilities or other jobs and things like that, and they felt, well, we can stay after school, can we get some funds for it? Unfortunately, we didn't have that. Even though it's for the benefit of the betterment of the schools, still money talks and everything else walks.
We're going to have to take a step back.
Meetings stretched on for weeks without consensus.
We don't want to put you out of school. So that's why this assembly is so important, so you know what the rules are.
Meanwhile, Land met with every grade.
What room are you coming from?
He moved disruptive students to split up cliques and suspended others, sending them to this nearby trailer called Choices, used by the school for years to keep troublemakers out of the way.
We're going to have to go the next step and tell them what it is.
It was hard to tell whether any of it was working.
The kids are really reacting to the fact that they're going to have to stay in Choices for a longer period of time. I don't know if it's a good sign or not.
11 weeks into the school year, in mid-November, Land's supervisors came to Boushall to hear his first progress report.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And welcome to Boushall.
He came to the meeting with some good news. Even though his plans for after-school detention had been rejected, the teachers had agreed to monitor hallways for 3 weeks, starting after Thanksgiving holiday.
What you're seeing is the staff saying, we have problems, we want to be a part of the solution. And it's very rewarding to me as the principal to see that.
Since October, Land had been spending nearly all his time on discipline. Now his supervisors were telling him they'd expected something else.
We're going to need to look at your plan for remediation recovery, because if you look at your writing scores, they were not good. We're going to have to be on it, and we're going to have to be very vigilant when we see things are not going in the direction that we want them to go.
There's a whole lot that has to be done. A whole lot that has to be done. We're still very far from where we need to be.
That afternoon, things again seemed to fall apart.
No.
And Parke Land put a stop to our filming, saying he needed a respite, get things under control. Whatever's going on in there, he doesn't want our cameras to see it.
I know that the changes will come and that Boushall will be a fantastic school in a matter of this year, next year. At some point, we are going to be where I want us to be.
And we'll continue to follow the story. Land promises to let our cameras back in soon.